Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. On today's show, we're looking at a potential backlash to the work from anywhere wave that we've experienced as a result of the pandemic. There are several factors that have been largely ignored in the narrative over the past year. There's numerous businesses predicting a massive reduction in business travel and a massive reduction in the traditional office. I've been reflecting on the majority of my career in the world of real estate investing and in my prior career in the tech industry. In the tech industry, we had video conferencing readily available from the early 1990s, and we used it frequently. There are lots of people for whom 2020 was the year of Zoom meetings. But before Zoom, we had Webex and GotoMeeting and a host of other platforms. You could easily screen share a PowerPoint presentation. The audio quality was good, and the video quality was also good, but even then, I would travel on average about twice a month for business. I had status on several airlines, and my number one business expense was travel. Question is, why did I travel so much? How did I justify all that travel when seemingly so much was accomplished in 2020 and in the first half of 2021 with virtually no business travel at all? What was it about physical proximity that made business so much more effective when it's done face-to-face? Will we experience a Zoom backlash and a return to physical meetings? I believe that the answer is yes. We will rediscover all the reasons why physical meetings are valuable. There's four that come to mind. Number one, employee training. Number two, mindshare. Number three, the acceleration that results from physical proximity. And number four, some of the regulatory and tax consequences. We're going to look at all four of these elements. So number one, training. When people are physically separated, the time period between touch points can increase. Junior people who have not established the relationships and the confidence to interrupt a senior leader have trouble knowing when to ask for help. The result is a tremendous loss of time before a problem is noticed and course corrections initiated. Active management of people requires frequent touch points of short duration. It takes a mature organization to learn how to do this well, especially in a remote environment. Number two, I find that when I travel and meet someone face-to-face, I get more attention from the person I'm visiting than if I were attempting to speak by a scheduled phone call. Many people don't like to spend that long on the phone. They just don't have the mental stamina to spend 2 hours on the phone. But you can easily imagine having a whiteboard discussion to plan out a project in a face-to-face setting. Even a 2-hour Zoom meeting can be exhausting for many. You simply get a lot more done meeting face-to-face. By meeting in person, you get mindshare, free of interruptions. Number three, despite the time involved in physical travel, I find that mistakes get uncovered faster. Misunderstandings get resolved when people meet face-to-face. While it's possible to have Zoom meetings and those meetings can be productive, there's much more accomplished in a face-to-face meeting. Since travel started to reemerge in the past few months, I have two very specific examples I can point to in the last 2 weeks where major issues were resolved face-to-face. It's not that they couldn't have been resolved another way. The fact is, we didn't even know there was a problem until we met face-to-face. It was in the process of meeting face-to-face that the problems got surfaced. These problems had been lurking in the shadows for months. It wasn't until the face-to-face meeting that the problems even became known. And number four, there's a potential tax landmine lurking for companies with work-from-home strategies. Many companies are taking the step to accommodate workers' desire for flexibility. But if employers aren't careful, companies could be opening themselves up to a costly tax headache. Companies have to shoulder the compliance burden involved with navigating a complex patchwork of local, state, and potentially international tax laws. For someone who resides in one state but has their place of employment in another, they face multiple tax jurisdictions. But if they're now working from home, where is their place of employment? If you're the sole employee in that state or in that city, did the company just open a new branch office? Companies need to be aware of the consequences of having a workforce that spans state lines. A local company that previously had all its workers in one place could be treading into a complex situation if workers scatter to numerous locations under a permanent work-from-home scenario. Just by having one employee over state lines where you previously didn't can bring out a significant change to your tax liabilities. Payroll taxes are a significant pain point, and they could have just been complicated by the events of the past 15 months. What happens when you have two states that are both asserting the first right of taxation? In that scenario, the employee could be facing double taxation. There is currently a lawsuit between Massachusetts and New Hampshire over that very issue. Many employees who work in Boston live in New Hampshire. What happens when they work 2 days a week in the office and 3 days from home? Which tax jurisdiction gets what? Who's got to keep track of the hours of what work was done when and where? I predict we will start to experience a pendulum swing where some businesses will return to the office environment to a larger extent than is currently predicted. I also believe that business travel will return to a larger extent than currently predicted. But it's going to take time for companies and individuals to rediscover the value of the face-to-face process. And in the meantime, those companies who embrace face-to-face will experience a competitive advantage. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.